All right. All right, let the record reflect that we've reconvening from closed session Monday, March 28th, 2022 at 7 p.m. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Sanchez,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Santinas,
Here.
Councilmember Hamada,
Here.
Councilmember Coops,
Here.
Mayor Dutton.
Here. Okay, and then also during closed session, there was no reportable action. And can I have everybody rise for the invocation led by Councilmember Victor Sanchez and the Pledge of Allegiance by Jim DeLonga, our Director of Economic Development.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Please bow your head. Dear wise and loving Father, first let me say thank you on behalf of all of us who gather here today. Thank you for your many and abundant blessings. Thank you for the life itself, for the measure of health, and for friendship. Thank you for the ability to be involved in useful work and for the honor of bearing appropriate responsibilities. I pray for our mayor, for the various levels of city officials, and in particular for the assembled council. I am asking that you would graciously grant us wisdom to govern amid the conflicting interests and issues of our times, a sense of the welfare and true needs of our people, a keen thirst for justice and rightness, confidence in what is good and fitting, the ability to work together in harmony even when there is honest disagreement, personal peace in their lives, and joy in their tasks. I pray for the agenda set before us today. Please give us an assurance of what would please you and what would benefit those who live and work in and around our beloved city of Bellflower. It is in your most blessed name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Please face the flag and begin with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yeah, that was one of the better pledges we've had over a long period of time. You don't get it to sound like that when you're on Zoom. All right. City Council announcements. And I'm going to start. At the March 14th, 22 regular City Council meeting, the Bellflower City Council took action to authorize return in-person council meetings. Here we are. This action was taken following the modified LA County Health Officer order that went into effect on March 4th. For future council meetings, teleconferencing will only be utilized as an as-needed basis. All right, Mayor Pro Tem Sonny Santa Inez.
Thank you, Mayor. Welcome, and it's nice to see everyone without face cover. To continue support for local businesses, the City of Bellflower is highlighting local businesses in the monthly eCitizen newsletter by sharing business updates, special events, holiday celebrations, and more. Additionally, to show support for new businesses in the city, business owners can request for a free ribbon-cutting ceremony to celebrate the grand opening and meet the Bellflower community. For more information on City of Bellflower business resources, please contact the Economic Development Department at 562-804-1424, extension 2010. That's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Santa Inez. Councilmember Dan Coops.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Over a year ago, the city launched www.buybellflower.com, a digital gift card program designed to support the Bellflower business community and area residents. This program, which offers up to 25% discount, will be ending this week on March 31st, 2022. For questions regarding this program, please contact our Economic Development Department, and they can be found at 562-804-1424, extension 2249. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilmember Coops. Councilmember Raymond Hamada.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Bellflower Chamber of Commerce invites businesses, service clubs, and the community to join their monthly morning mingle, which will take place tomorrow, March 29th, from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. For more information, please call the Bellflower Chamber of Commerce at 562-867-1744. All right. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilmember Raymond Hamada. Councilmember Victor Sanchez.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and good evening, Bellflower. It's good to see everyone. The Fair Housing Foundation is hosting its 38th annual Fair Housing Poster Contest, which is open to youth in 4th grade through 8th grade. Entries must include the theme, quote, Fair Housing, Transforming Communities, end quote. All posters should contain wording and imagery that conveys this year's theme. The posters will need to be submitted via email to info@fhfca.org. Again, info@fhfca.org. And the deadline for poster submissions is April 16th. For more information, contact the Fair Housing Foundation at 1-800-446-3247 or email cprado@fhfca.org. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilmember Victor Sanchez. Public comments, Mr. Stewart.
This is the time set aside for the public to address the City Council on matters not listed on the agenda. Anyone wishing to address the City Council should come to the podium, be recognized by the mayor, and state your name for the record. If you wish to address the City Council on an agenda item, you may do so by approaching the podium as we review that particular item. You'll be given 3 minutes to address the City Council.
Thank you. Anybody wishing to speak, now's the time. Just state your name and for the record for the city clerk and sign in and then speak away. Yeah, you can stand up or you can relax until the person leaves. We gotta, we can wait 10 seconds for the next person to go or something like that. So yeah. Yes, sir.
Mr. Whitehead, resident. So first off, I'd like to thank Mr. Gorecki for his assistance in getting a matter hopefully resolved for me and his additional insight and contacts with Cal Recycle to follow up on some of the matters regarding the green waste recycling program. And Bernardo was also, it was good that he got back to me in a timely fashion with additional information about how CR&R conducts their audits. And then I've got a question for you, Mayor Dunton.
Yes.
When a stakeholder in the community contacts City Hall and leaves a message, what is the expected time frame for a response?
Well, if it was me, I think somebody ought to be on that phone and answer it, but sometimes that doesn't happen, and I have a hard time, and I've had that discussion too, and it doesn't set good with me. With that said, I would think they should get back to you in 4 hours.
So it'd be reasonable to expect a response within 2 business days?
Yes, that would be very reasonable. Would we agree with that?
Certainly.
Yeah.
I'm curious who you called and who didn't get back.
Yeah, what department was it? And
Public Works, and I'll leave it at that.
okay,
Thank you.
all right. Yes.
Hey, thanks for the opportunity. And what I want to address is the parking structure.
What was your name?
Williams, John.
John. Okay.
I'm building an ADU right next to the parking structure there, and I'm like there all day long, and I'm watching all day long about 15 to 20 cars rapidly going in and out of that structure. And because when you come out is a decline, they're shooting out of there at about 50 or 60
I'm sorry
miles
to
per hour.
interrupt you, but on the Pacific side, which
yeah,
exit?
on the Pacific side.
Pacific side, got it.
Avenue.
Okay.
And so,
He's right.
I mean, one day.
Is it weekends or is it
it's
all the time, every day?
Every day, and it's just randomly. And I see where you guys spent all this money to add a extra patrol, 45 grand, and then it goes up as time goes. It's not addressing eventually, because I see little kids on skateboards and bicycles right at the exit, just riding around, because with the trail you've created a family-friendly kind of area there. So when people come with their families, they get out there on bicycles, and then along Pacific Avenue you have people that are backing in and out of their driveway and that sort of stuff. So I want to be on record so everyone could see this, and this will be in your archives too, that this was mentioned, that it's a total public safety issue. And every time I see those cars screeching down Pacific Avenue. I'm cringing like, man, I hope this isn't the day, because eventually something's going to happen. And when they're going into that structure, burning rubber, revving their engines, and because it's the acoustics in there, it's super duper loud. So you can't patrol random cars that are about 15 or 20 of them that are in and out of there all day long. You can't control that.
So you live there, you one of the first or
The
second
first-
houses?
The first one.
The
yeah.
first one on the Pacific side?
Exactly. And I mean, I was thinking, and this is just throwing it out there, if there was something there where people would have to get a ticket to go in, and they would have to have a business validated to get out.
Yeah, I'm going to speak for myself and what I've had discussions with staff, and I can probably the rest of my colleagues would chime in too. We didn't realize that the problems that would come with the parking structure, as far as the enforcement, the nonsense that goes up there from kids with bicycles to skateboards to homeless to drugs, where we got a lot of things on the table trying to figure out what's working. I wish there was something I could say that there was a magic pill that would take care of it, but we've been trying to fix this for 2 years at least.
Yeah, let me, if I could interject.
I mean,
Yeah, but the thing is,
we're aware of it. We agree with you.
The number one thing that I'm saying is the cars burning rubber, doing donuts, and and I'm watching the people that are on the track. They're like terrified, like you can see the expressions on their faces, and they're just astounded by all that noise and what's going on there.
Yeah, we're working on a number of things, including some more permanent gating up there. We put some temporary barricades up, was Wednesday of last week, Tuesday.
Yeah.
And we think that's had a positive response, and I think that with the patrol will keep some of the burnouts and stuff going on up there. There still may be an issue coming out of the exit. Right now, we're monitoring that closely. We're aware of it. I think we've eliminated some of the problems. We have some more work to do, and we're on it. We're going to get to it.
All right, I mean,
It's
guys,
a-
you're not building a watch here. I mean,
Yeah, no, it's interesting. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, it's work in progress,
Yeah.
and we've done a lot of things, and nothing's worked, short of locking it up.
It very well will get to that. We're
It may
trying
get to
not to
locking it
lock it
up.
up, but we are going to build some more barricades in there and more permanent structures that will eliminate some of this stuff. And-
okay, thanks.
Yeah,
Thanks for your testimony.
yeah,
If I can just add, Mayor.
yes, yeah.
Hold on. When the parking structure was being planned, we didn't plan for the pandemic, but we planned for to get tickets eventually. So the wiring has been installed within the structure. So when we pull the trigger later on to provide that gate, it's wired already. So that's one thing that we can do when the time comes.
Yes, sir.
Good evening. My name's Hugh McLarnon. I'm for what it's worth, an enlisted member of the United States Armed Forces, Army, and a commissioned officer, United States Army.
Thank you for your service.
I'm a resident here, Mr. Mayor. I'm also a graduate of the University of Maine, Orono. I'm seeing you're not from too far away. And I'm here today because I bought a home in Rose Street in Bellflower. And that home was built and occupied without completed permits. And here in Bellflower, we grow together. We're for family, business, and futures. And the city council, you as the legislative body, how did you allow this to happen? The planning and building services, custodians of the vision for Bellflower, and agents for implementation of housing and construction code enforcement, enforces Title 17 zoning code, Title 15 building and construction section. Accomplishes its mission by monitoring various zone building and property maintenance costs. Got all these people working under you. Primary concern is promoting services that promotes the community.
Can we get you to stop the timer clock for a minute? Okay, you have 3 minutes.
I know.
And I just wanted to make sure that you were going to get saying, if you're just quoting numbers and stuff like that, I want to get to the point.
Yeah, so you're
Okay.
familiar with your planning, your building
Okay.
services, divisions, mission
Yes.
statement.
Okay.
And you're familiar with your code enforcement division statement. Now, you're holding homeowners accountable for getting these homes up to code. Why aren't you holding the builder, Mr. Wassef, accountable for getting the buildings up to code? And why are you continuing to allow him to build in Bellflower when he hasn't finished this project? That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Well, that's two separate issues. There is problems with Mr. Waffe's building, and whatever you want to take it away, Mr. Attorney, before you overstep.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, I would like to remind you that this is an active code enforcement matter, and I would strongly urge you not to comment on it.
You know me, Mr. Mayor, from Maine. You know what the Maine folk are like? And I'm also from Belfast, Ireland.
Well,
This is not going away.
Yeah.
So I hope you guys
Okay.
do the right thing.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, just want to note for the record that there were supplemental materials provided to the council and the public prior to the meeting, and those were submitted by Mr. Hugh McLarnon as well.
Yes.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. My name is Cheryl Williams. I'm pretty much a lifelong resident of Bellflower, and I'd like to address the parking structure. I love the parking structure. When it first opened, I don't know which one of you mentioned going up there on a clear day and looking around. That is my place. That's my peaceful place. Anybody that comes to visit me, I drag them, if it's a clear day, up to the top of the parking structure we go to show them Bellflower and just the beauty up there. And I agree, there are problems up there with cars. It makes me so mad when I see the skid marks and people just throwing their trash. But whatever you do, don't make it impossible for people like myself and my fiance and anybody I take up there to enjoy the beauty of the top. It really is an asset to the city, I think. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Cheryl. I guess you haven't been up there at 1 a.m.
No. I was up there on 4th of July evening, and the fireworks show from up there was,
Well, yeah.
oh my God. And the crowd was very well behaved.
Thank you, Cheryl. Is there anybody else wishing to speak with public comments? Not seeing any. Item 12A, Mr. Stewart.
At the last council meeting, the council considered, well, let me read the title first, then I'll go into it. The council, consideration possible action to read by title only, waive further action, introduce ordinance number 1412, an ordinance amending the Bellflower Municipal Code by amending section 1.10.10.020, title definitions, and amending section 10.10.10.160, a title designation in specified areas. This is coming to you because of an item last meeting where the council considered a recommendation from the Public Safety Commission to provide a preferential permit parking area on the 16700 block of Orchard Avenue. I think everybody agreed that there was some reason and justification for providing that permit, but that the ordinance actually had a quirk in it, which said that the permits may not be granted on blocks less than 750 feet in length. We believe that the amendment that's before you today will correct that issue in the code and provide the projections of the council to make the findings necessary to grant preferential parking on those streets so deserving that are less than 750 feet in length. And staff recommends that you would read by title only, waive further reading, and introduce ordinance number 1412, or take other action as designated by the council, and we can answer any questions you might have on this issue.
Thank you, Mr. Stewart. And I do understand the way that is. It's usually blocks are long, and this is a cut-through block, and they're short between that. So I understand that was the way it was written and what it meant. Is there any other questions?
Yeah, just a quick
Yes.
comment, Mr. Mayor. So this amendment just makes sense because there could be a block that's going to be less than 750 feet. So I think with the caveat that a finding needs to be made, I think that's basically the control that we have to make sure that it's enforced, it is adopted properly. So, thank you.
Anyone else?
This has to do with the gentleman that came forward last meeting,
Right,
correct?
correct.
All right. I'm glad that we're addressing this sooner rather than later. He was anxious.
Well, I gave him a call today.
Okay,
I told him that it's on the agenda, and he was very pleased.
good.
So with that, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion.
I'll second that.
Let me motion
What do you
first.
say?
To read by title only, ordinance, waive further reading and introduce ordinance number 1412, an ordinance amending Bellflower Municipal Code, BMC, by amending sections 10.10.020, titled Definitions, and amending section 10.10160, titled Designation of Specified Areas.
I'll second that.
The motion on the floor by Mayor Pro Tem Sonny Santa Ynez and a second by Councilmember Sanchez. Call roll, please.
Councilmember Sanchez,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Santinas.
Aye.
Councilmember Hamada.
Aye.
Councilmember Coops.
Aye.
Mayor Dutton.
Aye. Item 13A, Mr. Stewart.
This is consideration of possible action to select 2 members of the City Council to serve on an ad hoc subcommittee authorized to meet with city staff to discuss various matters related to the downtown parking and circulation.
Good evening, Honorable
And-
Mayor.
and, okay. Thank you, Jim. I was wondering if you were going to be in this one, if it was.
Mr. Del
Could have been
Longo makes
planning. I
staff
didn't
report.
know. I know you're not planning. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Stewart. Good evening, Honorable Mayor and members of the City Council. In the spring of 2020, staff presented City Council an analysis of public parking in the north downtown area. The north downtown area is bordered by Flower Street to the south, the West Santa Ana Branch Rail right-of-way to the north, the Civic Center complex to the east, and the public parking lots behind Bellflower Boulevard to the west. That study at that time concluded that there is sufficient parking inventory in the north downtown area during the peak demand times of Thursday through Sunday evenings. At that time, City Council directed staff to conduct a follow-up study in 18 months to review the parking inventory after the completion of anticipated development projects and as activity begins to return to normal life after the pandemic. Recently, additional downtown parking and circulation ideas such as parklets and angled parking, which was previously reviewed by City Council in 2014, have been brought forth. And before the follow-up study begins, staff recommends that the City Council appoint a 2-person ad hoc subcommittee to meet as required regarding the various downtown parking matters and make recommendations to the City Council. This concludes my report, and staff is available for questions.
Gotcha. Okay. We have a subcommittee that is of Mr. Coops and myself, and then as Sonny is an alternate when one of us is conflicted out. And I was talking to the city manager this morning, and he was suggesting that we ought to keep it the same as having the subcommittee do it. And so I'd like to see Sonny and myself do it. Yeah. So what's the pleasure, guys? If you know, Yeah.
Maybe just a quick
Yeah.
question.
Okay.
So, again, as we're focusing on the downtown, and I remember this study back in 14. I was
Yeah.
on the Town Center Design Review
Uh-huh.
Committee back then. So, and it was some neat things that were discussed. And 8 years later, it still hasn't happened. Parking and the boulevard circulation and everything. I think there's some other ideas out there, and I'm not sure if anybody else is interested in participating. I know some people in the past have voiced some interest, at least. So I don't know if it didn't hurt to ask others. I can see the recommendation that we just continue with the economic development kind of aspect to it. But I don't know. This is somewhat of a focused issue. So I don't know if you would be willing to ask if there's other interest.
I'm kind of wondering why it's even needed. I look at it as we did in the 14, we did the major study and spent a lot of money for a consultant.
I remember.
At that time, the only way angle parking is going to work downtown if you got two-way traffic. you're losing 2 lanes. Right now, it's not a pleasure to go down Bellflower Boulevard if you're getting from point A to point B. That's what would happen. The parklets, I think, would be a great idea if we could fill them, but then you remove parking. But then 2 years ago, we did a in-house parking count and found that parking from Flower all the way to the old railroad tracks, all the way from City Hall, was very efficient.
Well,
Yeah.
let me back up on that one. I
Yeah.
think the reason we are going to go back out and restudy the parking issue, because I believe there was a request from the council to get a more professional study done rather than the staff count in-house on the spaces we're utilized, which is the reason we're doing that. The reason this came to you today, because Mr. Sanchez, newer to the council, had asked me if we discussed angle parking in the community. I had said, yes, we have discussed it previously. Have we discussed it lately? No, we have not. And if there was a time to discuss it, now would be the time to wrap it into the study that we're doing now currently. It's totally the discretion of the council. If there is ever a time to discuss, it would be now. But if there's no will to do so, then that's fine too. But we wanted to present the option out there for it.
And Mr. Mayor, if I may, respectfully, I definitely would appreciate the opportunity to be a part of that conversation. There's no other way to say it, but I'm invested in the concept and idea, and I'd like to see it through in a way, at least at the subcommittee level, and be able to explore it if it works, if it doesn't work. I mean, just be an opportunity to get some further information in there. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Mayor, if I can just chime in, I think Mr. Stewart was very diplomatic. I was the council member who requested for this traffic study. Okay, full disclosure. And the reason for that is we are allowing businesses to transfer parking responsibilities to the city. And at some point in time, we said, you know what, we need to find out exactly how much more parking space we have available. So that's what triggered, because I really want to have a comprehensive citywide downtown study in terms of parking, because we cannot continue giving away not knowing what we still have.
And then there's consensus among the council, we're going to do that. The point
Right.
tonight is there any reason to think through and discuss the addition of angle parking and the parklets in the street to include in this study? And if there is a reason to want to discuss that item, then it would be appropriate to talk about a subcommittee so they could add whatever recommendations go through for study. If that's not the will of the council, we don't necessarily have to do that, because the full study would come back to the full council anyway. The question is whether or not we want this nuanced addition to it to be added to the study, and that requires something, I think, of the subcommittee.
I thought it was included in the staff report.
It is
Parklets,
the angle parking is not included in the stuff for that was a 2014 study that we
Right.
did. We repeated
2014.
that. We reissued that for the staff report, but we have no new data on that. We haven't discussed it since then. We put that there for historical purposes.
Okay, I'm trying to take it back.
No, it's not new.
I was reading that was in the.
And
old
I
one.
believe that the request came, and I thought that it would be logical to bring it back to the council to see if there's any need or want to discuss angle parking again at this time. It's been something that the business community has brought up several times over the years, and you're 100% right. There's a lot of pluses and minuses to doing it, and if we're not going to do it, that's fine, but I thought that we should air it out for the city council.
Well, Mr. Mayor, I have an idea here. Since we already had this study way back in 2014 in terms of parklets and then angled parking, why can't we just have a study session among council members?
No, we could do that, and that's fine. I just, the only direction then.
Just focus on that.
Just focus on
Just
those
focus on
two? Or do you want to, would you like to wrap the inclusion of that into the current parking study that we're commissioning now?
It's kind of different to me.
A little bit,
as far as
okay.
concerned.
That's
So
fine.
because we already have the study, so we can use that as the base of our discussion, what was discussed in 2014.
The difference
Just
is,
focus on that.
we could focus on that, but we don't have any new data to discuss. The point tonight was, are we seeking direction to get new data on the angle parking, or you just wanted to talk about the 2014 numbers and revisit the issue?
I don't think that new data is going to be required because it's a concept.
That's fine.
As
So
far as
we
I'm
will-
concerned, it's a
No,
concept.
we actually have a couple items coming up that are going to have study sessions, so we certainly wrap that around to it and do it.
I think all of us will benefit out of the study session.
I am completely fine with that.
Have we hired our study consultant?
No, he's on hold.
He's on hold because of
Yes.
this. Yeah, it's a job. If you were to roll in parklets and angled parking, it wouldn't affect the price, I wouldn't think. It's a study's a study.
It could increase it a little bit because they'll be looking at how those additions to the to the parking field or the existing parking will impact the existing parking. We know it's going to take it away, so some parking might be removed, some might be added in some places, so they'll analyze that with everything else and the new businesses that have come online and see where we're at.
So, Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem, what I heard there would be that if we did a study, we could bring it all together to all 5 of us. Is that what I'm hearing?
A study session.
A study session,
Just to
correct.
focus on that.
To focus on that.
Review what we had already in 2014.
But the proviso is that right now I'm not hearing any consensus to include angle parking in the study that's forthcoming. So we would be discussing, the study will go forward on the parking demand in the city minus the angle parking unless somebody changes it.
Well, I don't think we did. We didn't discuss that. I just asked if there was a cost difference. You said it could be minimal.
I think it would be not
Yeah.
dramatically different
Yeah.
in the cost.
I'll comment then on, I'd like to see it with a new study. I think a lot has changed, especially with COVID. And the transition of that, I think 2014 data would not be reliable enough, in my opinion.
I would concur. I think there's some other, what kind of examples out there? I think like Covina may have the angled parking out, again, some other settings that have used it and maybe worked or maybe not. Again, we can definitely hear both stories. So I think it's worth
Yeah.
a study session.
Downtown Whittier as well.
Well, I think the idea is if we can get a consistency tonight to hire a consultant, we can have that going in the,
The question before us now is we've already had direction from the council to move forward with hiring the consultant to the circulation. Tonight, since the subcommittee seems to not be going forward at the moment, the question is, do you want to add the angle parking discussion to the study that's going forward? And that's really the question
Yeah, I
before
think
you right now.
that'd be fine. I mean, things could change, but I mean,
Mr. Mayor, 2014, when we did the study, wasn't it determined that the width of Bellflower Boulevard would not accommodate angled parking?
It would accommodate it if you go to one lane of traffic in each
One
direction.
lane each way.
That was the conclusion of the last study. You can't accommodate 2 lanes and have angle parking, 2 lanes north and south, and have angle parking downtown.
So if we were to, the part of the study should be the traffic flow on Bellflower Boulevard, because it's still our main artery. Where are those travelers gonna go? To Woodruff?
Well, no, you're
Clark?
right. You're 100% right. That is the study. There has been some discussion among folks over the years that there's some benefit to slowing down traffic on the boulevard, but that's a philosophic decision. There's so many reasons to not do and to do angle parking. We couldn't go into it now. I think tonight, we can't even answer those questions now. Tonight would be, do you want to include it in the study and discuss it at a later date or not?
and we had that beautiful study, and get me if my timelines are wrong, but we had it all done, and the signal at Oak in Bellflower was a 2-way signal. Now it's a 3-way signal with red curbs, because when it was that way before, we lost all the parking places
Correct.
because we had to
So
red the curbs.
To create the phased left turn needed
Yeah.
for a 2-way signal would require a loss of 20 spaces or so.
Something like that.
And that caused a lot of havoc among some of the downtown merchants, so we decided to go to the different.
So what was in our plan that we have here in our staff report, we've already changed, because they didn't see that coming.
I don't know what the data is going to
Yeah.
show, frankly. The physical characteristics of the street haven't changed dramatically, so it's still going to show that if you do angle parking, you're going to have a 2-lane street, and then it's a philosophic question on the council whether you want to do that or not. And I don't know the answer to that until we.
And then if you have a 2-lane street, you got someone turning left in front of you on some of the smaller streets,
It all
holds
holds
up
up.
traffic, and we
And-
all know with that, we like go, you go around if someone's turned the blinker on.
And
Can't do that anymore.
Mr.
And
Coops is
you'd
right.
have to put a left turn pocket in there, and then you lose the parking on the streets because of that pocket.
It will change traffic patterns, and then add to that, if they ever build the Orange Line extension, then,
that's another
of course,
story.
that will change traffic patterns again, which will have to be commented. It's another X factor that will have to be commented upon in this study that we do. So, yeah, there's a lot of moving parts in it for sure.
We'd also talked about moving that pirate park to allow for more parking. Was that part of the study?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's a separate, the parking demand, that's the capacity study that we did. We have talked about several things, including moving the Pirate Park, which, and everything's doable, of course, however you do that, and to truncate Laurel Street and add additional parking there, and some other options there. But again, that'd be part of the parking demand study itself, minus the angle parking.
Well, that really adds a different complexion to it if you put in the chance that the light rail will come into fact, be part of, and we're already worried about how the boulevard is going to be impacted by the train signals going down and 40 seconds up and down and the traffic stopping.
My
How do we
instincts tell
anticipate
me
that one, you know?
My instincts tell me that traffic will be gummed up on the boulevard pretty substantially if the train comes forward. And if you go to a two-lane street, that will exacerbate the problem. But it would be better if we had a professional tell us that if we're making decisions long-term on the boulevard.
Mr. Mayor, what's the timing for this completion of the parking demand study?
Without the extra stuff, they anticipated getting it done before the end of the spring. It might take a little bit longer if we add some of the things to the scope.
Still early, yeah.
But still doable, probably June.
I buy into the study session idea. I think this is important enough that we should all have some impact, and why redo it after the committee looks at it?
I would be for adding the angled parking. I think we're pretty much split up here on that, but I would go add the angled parking and parklets
To the study.
into that study.
And then we'd have the study session after we get the study back? Okay.
Yeah. So what's your, Victor, that's your yes, I'm sure?
I'll work. I could work with that. Yeah.
What about Coops?
Yeah, if you want to do angle parking, that's fine.
Study and the parklet things. That's
Yes.
Hamada and, okay. So that's done. We got that crossed
So
off
the
the list.
suggested motion to include that, as I'm reading the council tonight,
Is our study.
is to add to the parking demand study the addition of potential angle parking downtown and to bring the full package back to a council subcommittee at a future date upon completion of the study.
Yes.
Does that include parklets?
We will include
And
parklets.
parklets, yes.
You're bringing it back to a subcommittee, or you're bringing it back to
No,
the full
full
council?
council.
We've got
Okay.
full council study session.
Okay.
We'll have a study first, part of the study.
Yeah.
How does
Then
that
we're done.
motion read?
So,
Well, make a make
You
a
wanna take a
motion
shot? Yeah.
to make a motion to add parklets and angle parklet study and angle parking study in the parking district areas for the consultant.
let me
Add it to the
try my
consultant's task.
hand at it one more time. So I think the motion would be to add the study of angle parking and parklets in downtown to the ongoing parking demand study for downtown, and to bring the item back to the full city council in a study session after completion of the study.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Motion on the floor. Councilmember Sanchez, and a second by Councilmember Hamada. Call roll.
Councilmember Sanchez,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Santinas,
Aye.
Councilmember Hamada,
Aye.
Councilmember Coops,
Aye.
Mayor Dutton.
Aye. Consent calendar. Anybody have any recusals or items pulled for discussion?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to pull item 14C.
Sonny's 14C is pulled. Mr. Hamada, anything?
I'm good.
Mr. Coops?
I have nothing.
Sanchez? Good. And there's no recusals. Okay. 14C, what is that about? You want to go ahead and ask what you want to ask about?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mr. De Longa. As I called you earlier, I just want to get some clarification in terms of the contract for the farmers market to be moved from Sims Park to down to Town Center in Bellflower. So anyway, my first question to you is the proposed contractor. You mentioned in the staff report that They manage 6 weekly markets in surrounding cities. So can you tell us which surrounding cities there are?
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and council members. So the operators operate the Southgate Market on Mondays, Huntington Park on Wednesdays, Bixby Knolls on Thursdays, downtown Long Beach on Fridays, Cerritos on Saturday, and the Long Beach Marina on Sunday.
Oh, good. So we're gonna have some kind of synergy,
Yes.
because that's my
Yeah.
concern when
Yeah.
I made the phone call this afternoon. All right, that's good. And you mentioned about the days that they operate. What's Huntington Park is
Wednesday.
Wednesday, and the second city you mentioned, Southgate was the first one,
Southgate was Monday.
and second,
Was Huntington Park on Wednesday.
and the third one,
Bixby
Bixby
Knolls.
Knolls. And what day is that?
Thursday.
Thursday. Okay. So we're gonna make their week very complete,
Yes.
including. All right. All right, and then how about their sales in those farmers market?
So in Southgate, they have an average of 25 vendors, and their average sales are $14,000 a week.
Per vendor.
No,
No,
for
the
total.
whole gross.
For
For
the
the
whole,
whole.
for the
Yeah.
Okay,
whole
all right.
farmer's
The
market.
whole 4
We're
hours.
getting there. All right.
And then in Huntington Park, their average vendors are 25, and their average sales there are $17,000.
17.
Total.
Okay.
Bixby Knolls is an average of 25 vendors, and their average sales is $7,000.
7,000.
Downtown Long Beach on Fridays, average vendors is 25, and the average sales is 10,000. Cerritos, they have average vendors of 48,
Wow.
Okay.
and the average sales are 32,000.
Okay.
And the Long Beach Marina, they have 57, an average of 57 vendors with a $50,000 average gross sales.
50. Wow. Okay. Those are good numbers. So, based on the staff report, you're looking for 40 vendors.
Approximately.
Approximately?
Yes.
Okay. I understand. I mean, you will not get this in the first year. There's going to be a ramp-up period, but hopefully after first year, you'll be there.
We'll get there.
So to just based on this rough calculation, to equal what was being produced from the Sims Park Farmers Market of $7,000 per year, in terms of what the city gets, they generate approximately $117,000 a year at Sims Park. So since we are reducing the rate from 6% to 1%, correct?
Yes.
So based on my back of the envelope calculation, they have to generate $700,000 in sales. So do you think that is reasonable to expect based on what you gave us here?
It might be a push again for the first year at least.
Might.
But again, the goal is to bring it downtown and to bring the people downtown. So they're going to be putting an extraordinary amount of effort into promoting this and marketing this, and we will too. We'll be helping them out. So we're hoping to fill the 40 vendors or the approximate 40 vendors within the first year to year and a half. They will also be including a craft section of the market as well. So we're hoping to get additional vendors through that side of things as well as through the farmers, and the fact that we're going to bring the existing farmers that we have in our market over to Town Center Plaza.
Yeah, I understand. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to make this a money maker for the city. I mean, I think if we can attract more people into the farmers market, to me the main thing here is to make the city a destination. Because if we attract them to downtown, especially downtown, once it's open in the Town Center Plaza, I expect some people from other areas like that you didn't mention here, like Downey, Norwalk, Lakewood, although there's a farmers market in Lakewood. Hopefully they can come here and see the other business in the city of Bellflower. So the income coming out of this is inconsequential for me. But the main thing is to make sure that it is run properly, that we have a lot of people going to the market, we have a lot of quality vendors, because that's the main draw, are the vendors. If you have good vendors, people will come. If you have mediocre vendors, they would not.
Interestingly, the service provider or the operator for this has indicated that they have a waiting list or an interest list of farmers wanting to come to Bellflower on Monday mornings and be part of the market. So that's good to know.
Yeah, okay. Well, reading the staff report, I'm very excited about this. And especially now, since you kind of allied my concern about the synergy here, since we're gonna be one of them. So I think because part of the farmers market also is they feed to one another. People know where the farmers market are. So, all right, very good. Thanks for a good job. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll make one last comment, but bringing it to the town center is part of the vision, but we've been building our town into residential, commercial, and with the new projects that are already here and then the ones coming on with the senior homes, the condos, the work lives, we have a lot of people that are living really close, walking distance, and it's what downtown's about, walking traffic. And that's just my comment. Anybody else have a comment?
Maybe that way we'll get to 700,000.
Yeah.
So with that, I'll move
Yeah.
the consent calendar, Mr. Mayor.
I'll entertain that, yes. We got a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Sonny Santa Ynez and a second by Councilmember Coops. Call roll, please.
Councilmember Sanchez,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Santa Ynez.
Aye.
Councilmember Hamada,
Aye.
Councilmember Coops,
Aye.
Mayor Dutton.
Aye. Council reports. Mr. Sanchez, you have anything to report?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Just want to note quickly that I did drive. I drove through the downtown. I wanted to make sure I didn't say drive by, but I'll say it anyways. I drove through the boulevard on Saturday's event. I did witness about four deputies and one motor car out and about. Towards the end of that sting, around 9 o'clock, I did see that they kind of lined up together, two deputy vehicles and one of our parking enforcement vehicles together, and they were going down north on Bellflower Boulevard and citing cars that were parked on the right-hand side. So I do want to, I see some of our deputies out there, so I want to just say thank you to them for their hard work. I know that's not easy when you have that many activities happening uncalled for and unpermitted, so just want to share on that. And I don't know if there's any other reports that we want to get on that tonight, but that's all. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Mayor Pro Tem Sonny Santa Ynez.
Just real quick, Mayor, I'm glad to see you all back again here in the City Council chamber. It is very different, so thank you, Mayor.
Yeah, it's been a long time. Councilmember Hamada.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a few things. Again, last week, I was able to attend the Contract Cities Board meeting, and it was at the WRD Robles Center in Pico Rivera. We had the guest speaker from the center itself, Mr. Tucker. He's a GM. He gave us an update on the facility, and they were talking about reopening the center for tours, and I was advised now that their next open public tour will be April 23rd, and they have 3 times at 10, 11:30 and 1, but you must register online. So if you go to the WRD website, you should be able to see the tour information. And this past Friday, I was advised that I was reappointed to the Regional Council of SCAG. So, okay, 2 more years, all right. Congratulations. Yeah, okay, thank you. So, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
When did they do that?
Well, you guys must have done it, because nobody...
Mr. Mayor, he was uncontested.
Oh, well, I didn't want to...
Nobody would dare run against him. Okay, just for the record,
Okay,
because he was doing a fantastic job.
No.
Yeah, I just
Ray
love
was so
driving to
intimidating.
downtown LA.
No. Councilmember Coops.
I want to congratulate you on your appointment, Ray, and.
Oh,
and-
just rub it in.
No, I think
No, I'd say.
you represent us on so many different areas that we need representation at, and you thrive on that, and I appreciate the fact that you're making all these meetings occur and you report on them. It's a good thing. We don't all have the time or the ability to get to some of these things, but you're wired for that, and God bless you. So,
Thank you very much.
yeah. I have nothing else to report except to congratulate Mr. Hamada on his great work.
Twice.
With that said, Mr. Hamada did approach me on 2 different occasions saying, you know, if you got somebody to do this job, I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
With
You
that-
have great influence, Mr.
Yeah, I guess that's so. Anyway, it's good to be back in an open forum again. We don't have to look through plexiglass to a big screen of people in Zoom land. Like I made a comment, just having invocation and having a prayer with a lot of people in the room feels good. It feels right. It's just great to be around people. If everybody knows, it's been a long time since you've been around people, unless it's your close friends or family. I thank the audience for coming out here tonight. Something different. Didn't expect to have this many people, but because it was the first one. But thank you for showing up, and thank you for taking the time out of your evening at home and come see us and watch us do our business. And with that, I'm going to adjourn the meeting to the next regular council meeting of Bellflower City Council till 5:30 Monday, April 11th, 22. We're adjourned.